Hey everyone, it's JP Warren, your host of Lead with Confidence. If you've noticed that we've updated this podcast from Lead with Soft Skills to Lead with Confidence. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build confidence in people. And that's not just with communication skills. That goes into many different buckets of people's lives, from mindset to personal growth, personal development, how we communicate, how we have conversations with people. This is all about building confidence. And I think Lead with Confidence is much more of an accurate description of what we're going to be doing. This also ties into the new school community that we're going to be building that brings in monthly challenges, monthly topics, monthly growth opportunities for everyone out there. So again, Lead with Confidence, that will be the school community that we will be having an ongoing pathway for you to actually develop your skill sets and to grow confidence as you navigate your life, not just personally, but also professionally. So this, thank you for tuning in right now. The topic that we're going to go over today is kind of what spurred the reinvention of this of Exec Crew, the men's leadership and growth support group that we're also having. Again, Lead with Confidence, that's one group that we're having on the school community. That's kind of open to everyone looking to build their confidence skills. And Exec Crew, that's another group that we have on the school community, but that's more towards men that are leaders. And kind of what spurned all this whole topic of the monthly theme, which is the weight of leadership, is a kind of a personal experience, not just what I've been going through personally, but also from conversations with other people in leadership positions on kind of what they're faced with. Again, I guess the topic and the theme is the weight of leadership. How do we actually navigate and handle all the burden that's on our shoulders, and how do we do that healthy? And I think this really kind of stemmed when I first started my company, probably about 4 years ago in 2021. Traditionally, it kind of fell into two parts. Number one, I thought that my traditional support group, my circle of friends, my circle of the inner circles that I had would be my primary customers, would be my primary support group that would root for me to go and kind of support me along my way and kind of deal with me and kind of put their weight in my boat with all these challenges. However, that wasn't the case. I found out that all my traditional group of friends, my circle of friends, they're just awesome people, great group of people, I was faced with new challenges that they weren't faced with. So I found a lot of times that I couldn't really connect, converse, and actually talk about these struggles that I faced with. And it's just struggles. I mean, I'm not talking about the administrative stuff, whether it's payroll, taxes, finding a good CPA, all the admin stuff. I'm talking about kind of the personal stuff, the uncertainty, the anxiety when it comes to when you're launching a company. And the second thing that I found out is that if I am putting myself in these new situations to face these challenges, who can I really surround myself with? What other people have been in my shoes before that I can learn from, share with, and grow from? So the idea is this, and the more people I talk to, either other men in leadership positions or other people dealing with leadership, it's a lot of different things. It's how do they find their purpose? What is their purpose? How do they show up at home, presently at home, but also how they show up at work? And again, this whole weight of leadership concept is really how we navigate the daily struggles and the mindset and kind of the anxiety that builds whenever you are building a business or leading a team. And there is true anxiety. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's the uncertainty that we can't be vulnerable with people out there. But really the feeling of that you have to take it all on yourself. The fact you have to take on every challenge, everything that's out there, all on yourself. However, that can't be further from the truth. What that happens, and what we're going to learn today, is that actually kind of deters you from reaching your goal, and that often leads to burnout and a lot of anxiety. And we're going to dive into actually not only the weight of leadership and what that feels like, but also we're going to give you some key takeaways on what you can actually do to start kind of prepping yourself up, some self-reflecting questions, because we're going to be carrying this conversation on to future conversations, and then we're going to move on to another confidence-building topic. So again, whenever you are carrying all these struggles on by yourself, it shows up with anxiety, stress. You show up for your family, but you're not there for your family. And when you carry this all alone, there's a couple things that kind of pop up, and we're going to kind of go over that now. Then we're going to go over to some reflective prompts, journaling prompts for you to help you navigate the weight of leadership alone. Number one, isolation. You start feeling very alone. And feeling isolated is a very it's a scary place to be. You feel like you can't reach out to anyone. No one else understands what you're going through. That all these challenges, all these struggles, all these inner turmoils, second guessing yourself, you start kind of feeling that. You start isolating yourself, where you don't want to reach out to people, and that just kind of leaves you with your own thoughts. It leaves you with your own anxiety. It leaves with your own feelings that you have to do this all alone. And again, there's power in being vulnerable, and there's power in connection. So again, you're not isolated, but again, sometimes you feel like you have to do this all alone. The second thing that happens if you carry the weight of leadership all by yourself, it leads to stress, it leads to burnout. What does that look like? That looks like you waking up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. That looks like you not be able to unplug and be there present for your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, whoever it is. Not being present and having that burnout where it's actually that struggle and the challenges that lie in front of you when you are building a company, sometimes it just feels like too much. It feels very overwhelming where you don't even feel like tackling that low-hanging fruit that you need to progress your company forward, right? So you kind of disconnect, and your stress, it leads to a lot of burnout. All right, tunnel vision. Another thing is too, you lose the forest for the trees. Whenever you do have this weight of leadership, the smallest things can feel like the biggest burden. All right. And when that happens, we take our eyes off the prize. We stop focused on that end goal. We try to handle what has to be done today. And next thing you know, we're working in the business, not on the business, right? And the fourth thing that can happen, it can strain your personal relationships. I've experienced this in personal and professional relationships. I've seen this personally, taking on different businesses that I'm doing or thinking about new ideas, new directions I can go. I find myself so encompassed with these ideas, these anxieties. What if it doesn't work out the way I envision? Or what if it doesn't happen this way? What if I fail? What if the house of cards falls, right? So I started internalizing that. Next thing you know, my wife's asking me what's wrong. My daughter's saying, Dad, you're never here. You're always on your phone. Or Dad, you're doing this. You're not here. And so what happens is I notice that myself personally, whenever I am bogged down and I'm facing all this stuff kind of on my own, and I'm kind of like in the weeds with all these problems and all these challenges, I detach from my personal relationships with my family, my friends. I stop reaching out to people. Again, it builds that bubble, that self-protection bubble of isolation, which is not beneficial to anyone in the long term. And another thing that I see that happening also is that I self-sabotage. So I was talking about earlier, those little small things that you have to do, whether it's an email, whether it's an invite, a reminder, you start doing other stuff to do that. You'll clean your house. You'll get your car washed. You'll clean out your email box or something like that. You start doing other activities and you should probably be doing what you should be doing, but you're not doing that because you're self-sabotaging. And self-sabotaging, it's not as blatant as saying, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm self-sabotaging. It comes out in other forms. And whether that's you doing other things and the stuff that you should be doing, or whether that's you saying, you know what, I want to do this idea, I want to do this passion project, but it just seems too burdensome. It seems like too much right now. Maybe down the road. All that's self-sabotage. You delaying what you have to do or delaying the stuff that you want to do, that's your self-sabotage, right? So what can we do about that, all right? And what does that look like in the reality of this? The reality is this, if you are a CEO or if you're building a company, you're building a team and you're taking so much on, next thing you know, you start micromanaging because you have to control everything. And that leads to burnout. Your team stops trusting you. All right, what does it look like as a father? As a father, whether you're building a business, leading a team or something like that, you're so in the weeds with what you should be doing, what has to be doing. You're worried about everything that's out of your control. And then you show up for your daughter's volleyball game or your son's baseball game, and you're on your phone. You're disconnected. You're not present in the moment, cheering them on, because in your mind you're thinking about all that other stuff that's kind of compounding, all that other stuff that's kind of compiling up. And again, sometimes when you are handling stuff by yourself and you're very isolated and all that stuff, how else can that come up? You might snap or act very responsive in a meeting or in a conversation, and next thing you know, that derails the conversation, that reduces momentum or morality, not morality, but it reduces kind of the culture of the company, right? So when you're lashing out and you're responding emotionally because you're not going through and finding out where you're handling the weight of leadership. So right now we're going to go over the 5 prompts These are 5 prompts for you to reflect on where you actually stand when it comes to, are you carrying too much by yourself? And if you are, that's okay. That's okay, but identifying if you are is the first step in being a leader. It's self-reflection. I think that's one of the most key things that you can do. So number 1, the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what are the top 3 responsibilities you feel that you can't drop right now? So 1, top 3. What are your top 3 responsibilities right now? What are the top 3 things that you're doing right now that you can't drop? List those in order. List those, either they can be ranked priority or not, but just jot them down. What do you have to do to keep your business growing? What do you have to do to keep your business going? All right, so start jotting those 3 things down. All right, the second thing that you need to do from those top, is what are you accountable for? What out of those 3 things, what are you personally responsible for? It's also and again, part of being a leader is understanding what you can control, what you should be doing, and what you should also relinquish control. Again, it's okay to trust others. It's okay to offload the weight of leadership. So which one of these 3 are yours truly to handle? What are they? Which ones are your actual responsibilities? All right. The third thing you need to ask yourself is, where are you feeling the most anxiety? Where are you feeling the most pressure? What does that look like for you, right? So where are you feeling the most pressure? And this could be broad. This could be one of those things where, hey, listen, my most pressure is, keeping the electricity on, is keeping the bills paid. So identify, it could be as broad as that, or it can also be very specific. All right, my responsibility, I really have to reach out to these 3 key investors every single week. This is my responsibility. So it could be broad or it could be narrow. So again, find out where you feel most anxiety, most pressure, and actually on these 3 things. Like, and also, it's one of those things too, once you do identify those anxiety, pressure building moments, start going through this process. What is the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? Not only that, what can you do to prepare for that, right? What can you do? What actions can you take to avoid that whole what if scenario, that anxiety place that we live a lot, right? And the fourth thing we ask ourselves is, who do you lean on for support, right? So So do a short list. Who do you lean on for support? Who are your circles you can reach out on? My biggest thing was, a couple years back, I was thinking, okay, well, my old circle of friends, I can't really call on and kind of ask about these current challenges that I have and that I'm facing and I'm dealing with right now. So who can I call on? This was a great exercise to really start identifying maybe new mentors, new people, maybe contacts you've recently had in your circles and you really haven't had a chance to connect with. So who can you actually reach out with and start relying on to get some more, maybe some leadership advice, or maybe a soundboard, or maybe discussion points. Hey, I'm faced with all these different things. I see that your company is very similar. How did you handle this? How did you navigate these challenges that are kind of come up? All right. And the fifth thing that you can do, if you set one boundary tomorrow saying, what would lighten your load the most? So pretty much, if you could do one boundary, tomorrow that could affect your life, what would that look like? So for example, for me, one boundary would be, hey, listen, when I'm with my family, put my phone in the other room. What's the one boundary I'm gonna have? I'm not gonna answer any calls after 5 p.m. That's family time. Or I'm not gonna set any meetings after 4 p.m. on a Friday because I know I have to get home to be with my family Friday afternoon, because that's our annual family time that we spend together. So what's a boundary that you can instill for you that would separate you from your anxiety? If you could do one thing to kind of create more of a work-life balance, as we call it, what would that look like? All right. So before we do anything, these are just 5 prompts, 5 questions to ask yourself. Number 1, what are your top 3 responsibilities that you're responsible for? Number 2, what are you truly accountable for? What are you truly accountable for in those 3 responsibilities? Number 4, where are you feeling the most pressure? What are the things that are kind of bringing up the anxiety that you're waking up at 3 a.m. and you can't go back to bed and you're always thinking about? All right. Number 4 is, who do you lean on? Start jotting down a short list of some people in your social groups so that you can start leaning on them, maybe have shared experiences, or maybe there's people that you look up to that just seem that they've navigated these waters before. And the fifth thing is, for yourself, what's one boundary that you can do? For this week's exercises, just put these down. Just start listing this stuff down, all right? Today is not about fixing anything. It's more about awareness. And I think being a leader and having these self-reflection prompts and actually start diving into kind of what your struggles are, like these anxiety things, these big anxiety bubbles that we're faced with, what does that really mean? What are these anxiety bubbles? What are they really telling us? And what is it limiting us doing, such as self-sabotaging, or was it allowing us doing as, thinking creatively? I find whenever I am in one of these anxiety-ridden bubbles, yes, it's terrifying, but at the same time, that's also when some creativeness comes around. That's when some ingenuity comes out of the situation. So again, all anxiety isn't necessarily bad, but again, starting off with a couple of self-reflecting steps is extremely important, all right? The next episode, I'm actually gonna dive into on kind of, once you've identified this load, how do we actually navigate these loads? How do we offload? How do we delegate? How do we focus on the stuff we can control, not the stuff that we can't control? So again, I want to just understand that the weight of leadership is real. Sometimes you'll find yourself feeling very alone, feeling very isolated, whether it's you can't connect with your previous social circles, or it's just one of those things where it's just so much. You just feel like you have to take it all alone. Who could you really reach out to? Just remember this: you are not alone in your leadership journey. You're not alone in you building your business, and you're never alone whenever you just need to kind of vent, and because you're not the only one dealing with these struggles, all right? So I want to thank you, everyone out there, for tuning in to Lead with Confidence. If you're someone out there just trying to build confidence, we'll be launching the Lead with Confidence School program, and that's going to be monthly calls. That's going to be leadership topics, confidence building topics, to give you a pathway to build your confidence as you navigate your careers, both professionally and personally. And if you are a man looking for a leadership group of other men for growth, support, and to learn from, that is called Exec Crew, the Men's Leadership Growth Support Group. That's also a school community. But again, I want to thank you out there for tuning in. You're not alone in this journey, and stay tuned for next. Let us know what you think about this new Lead with Confidence direction that we're going on this podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.